Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Seven with Kevin. My name is Kevin Maynard. I'm the Executive Director of Quad City Arts, where our mission is to enrich the quality of life in the Quad City region through the arts. Now, to do this, we work with hundreds of artists throughout the year in a number of mediums and genres, and us at Quad City Arts have the added benefit of getting to work with these artists closer and learning more about them and their art. And we want to share that with you. And that is what Seven with Kevin is all about. Now, if you're tuning in live and have a question, go ahead and drop that in the comment section. Tuning in live and don't have a question, say hello. Say hello to our guest, or tell us how you found us this evening. Tonight, we'll be talking with Brian Buckles. Brian's work is currently on display at our gallery in the Quad Cities International Airport. You can see his work in person 24 hours a day through the rest of the month at the Quad Cities International Airport. Or you can see it online at our website, quadcityarts.com. As always, I'll remind you that seeing the artwork in person is much more impressive than seeing it on your screen. So please take the time, drive out there, and enjoy his work in person. So please welcome Brian Buckles to Seven with Kevin.
How's it going, Kevin?
Brian, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, our pleasure. So before we jump into our Seven with Kevin icebreaker questions, let's tell everybody a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised in the Quad Cities. Went to Iowa State University for graphic design school. And I've been a practicing design professional since then, and also a practicing fine artist on the side as well. So obviously, see life, as you can probably see behind me, and that's been kind of the focus of my work since I've really gotten into this. So
excellent. So Brian, what city are you currently living in?
Yeah, so I live in Waterloo right now. We actually just recently relocated from the Quad Cities about 6-8. So yeah, still not too far from home though.
Excellent. All right. Well, Brian, are you ready for your Seven with Kevin questions?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right. Brian, what are you currently watching on Netflix, TV, or other streaming services?
Yeah, strangely enough, probably not a show that anyone would guess I'd be watching, but my wife has me sucked into this. It's called This Farming Life. Growing up in Iowa, and when you travel, you think like everyone, you tell them where you're from and they think you live on a farm. I have never been around farming whatsoever. But my wife's got me sucked into this show. It's just fascinating watching these people chase their sheep up the mountainside, and I don't know. So that's what we've been watching lately. I guess it's interesting because it's so different.
And what is This Farming Life? Where can people view that on?
It's on Netflix.
On Netflix?
Yeah, so check it out.
Excellent. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Yeah, if you would have asked me like 2 years ago, I would have probably said neither. But my 8-year-old son is absolutely obsessed with Star Wars. So he has converted me to the dark side or the light side. I don't know, but I am, definitely a Star Wars guy now. So
excellent. So how did the 8-year-old loop you in? Was it through like Clone Wars, or was it through just?
Well, we started with the 3 old. I had honestly never seen any of the Star Wars movies.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to admit that, but we started with the first 3 movies from like the 70s or something. Mm-hmm. And so, that's where we kicked it off. And, then I got kind of sucked into it, and now it's like on Netflix and all these, streaming services, there's like all these spinoffs, and Disney Plus, we've had The Mandalorian on, which has been pretty cool. So yeah, definitely Star Wars now.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy that you guys started off right and started with the original trilogy and then worked through the rest. So.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So where is the best pizza in the Quad Cities?
Oh boy. I don't even like answering this one because I know that there's definitely like party lines here, but I'm going to go a little bit more specific. Going to say it's actually Canadian bacon and sauerkraut pizza from Happy Joe's is my favorite pizza. So
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what that means about me, but
I mean, I'm there for it. I think I like that you were incredibly specific about your answer. So,
Yeah, I got a
so
soft spot for that one.
what is your favorite book?
Um, my favorite book is probably actually I just read Bruce Springsteen's autobiography, Born to Run, and my dad and I are pretty diehard Boss fans. I don't remember how many concerts I've been to his, so I just found the book very interesting to hear about his life story, and that's probably my favorite one right now.
Excellent. Where is your go-to place for inspiration?
Oh man, all over. My mind. I just always have so many things swirling around in my head, ideas that I want to try. Obviously, the ocean. Being a certified diver is awesome. I mean, getting in the water and seeing subject matter in real life, kind of like what talking about the artwork and seeing artwork in person is a different experience. Seeing marine life in front of your face is a lot different than seeing it on TV. So definitely there. I grew up watching tons of documentaries. Shark Week's like a holiday in my house. So, there. And then, current artists right now, I'm a big fan of Dino Cook, who's an incredible tattoo artist who also focuses on marine life. He does amazing tattoos of seascapes and marine life on people's arms, like full sleeves. It's just incredible work. Joyful Enriquez, and obviously like guys like Guy Harvey and Wyland, big time marine artists. Grew up seeing whaling walls of Wyland in California, and that was always incredible for a 7-year-old to see. So that's probably
excellent.
where I go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like you said, all over the place. That's perfect. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Marine biologist. That was on my list from about 3 years old on, I think. Or I'm even a videographer. Focusing on sharks. I've always wanted to do that, and still have dreams of doing that. So. But definitely, studying sharks. Science was always my favorite subject in school, and I think doing something like that would be pretty awesome.
Excellent. All right, if you could have a drink with any artist, living or dead, who would it be?
I don't really have like a super interesting one here. I guess my favorite artist growing up was Monet. I just loved his paintings, his style. I mean, it's so different from what I do, but seeing his brushwork and color on canvas, and I would love to just sit down and just talk about what his approach and painting from life back then and trying to capture the essence of a scene in a changing scene. I just think it would be fascinating. So yeah,
hey, nothing wrong with the classics. I mean, obviously they've withstood the test of time. So
yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Brian, I feel like we've learned a lot about you in our icebreaker questions, and actually is going to lead well into the rest of this. So, Brian, when did you start creating art?
I don't even remember. I mean, my mom saved, I think about every drawing I ever did, and it dates back to about 2 years old. So, forever. I mean, it just always was my thing. If other kids were out, playing or whatever, I was content to sit and draw. Or where others like to read, I was always drawing. So, I mean, as long as I can remember.
Wow. So you obviously well, it sounds like you started out drawing. You do obviously some very impressive painting. You talked about being a digital artist, doing the graphic design work. Are there other mediums that you work in, that you dabble in, or?
I mostly stick to the traditional stuff. I still love doing just a simple pencil drawing, black and white. I know there's so many amazing, especially today, things like the Apple Pencil and working on an iPad for incredible digital art. And I absolutely love that stuff. There's still something to me about like manipulating raw materials and feeling the tactile feedback that you get from graphite on paper or a brush on canvas, and trying to handle those materials and control them to some extent, while letting them do some work for you too, is still part of that challenge that I really like. And working kind of with my hands to create something. So yeah, I still mostly, painting and drawing are my two focuses, but yeah, try to keep it varied.
So obviously you said you started when you were basically 2, doing some drawing. So at what point in your life did you decide that you wanted to showcase your work, that you wanted to kind of take that to the next level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess a little later. I mean, with my, pursuing graphic design and going to Iowa State, I loved the idea of being able to take kind of my fine art background all through school, and then applying that in a place where fine art is so different. Like, you're leaving a lot up to the interpretation of the viewer, where graphic design is much more about problem solving, and you're trying to communicate a specific message to the viewer, while trying to get a response out of them, obviously. And so, I loved, that part of it. But then, the fine art side of things is it's just a total different challenge. And so, I guess, that's those two things. And I've always loved marrying the two too. There's a lot of graphic design work that I've done where I've tried to bring in my fine art capabilities to do things, illustrations and types of things, to bring that into the digital space and create something unique. So,
yeah, that's a really fascinating breakdown that you just did. Like kind of that, that almost marketing approach to graphic design, where you're definitely trying to convey a message. Like, you're trying to, the feeling you're trying to invoke in your audience. Whereas more on the fine art side, there's a little bit more left up to the audience. There's more to interpretation. I really like, I really like that explanation there.
Yeah, I didn't really get that until, quite a bit later. And going through school, and honestly, when I went to school for graphic design, I don't even know if I really understood what graphic design was. I think a lot of people hear graphic design and they just think logo, or, something like that. Where the reality is, graphic design is so much more focused on problem solving and thinking systematically. And so, yeah, it's just, they're kind of different disciplines, but there's a lot of gray area between fine art and graphic design. And I think I always find myself kind of straddling the middle. I got one foot in both.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so let's move on to a little bit of your artwork. So obviously you've got some impressive pieces behind you. One of the pieces that you have on display for Art at the Airport is a piece called Underwater Blues, which is a relatively new one of yours. Can you talk about this painting just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this painting actually was it was kind of, I guess, carried some significance for me because, when I was a kid, and I've always been obsessed with sharks. I don't know what it was. We took family vacations on the West Coast a lot. I have family that lives out there, and just seeing the ocean for, the first time as a small kid, it was amazing, obviously. But then, seeing sharks for the first time, there's just something about him that just captured me. And from then on, it's just been an ongoing obsession. It wasn't really a lot of kids grow up liking dinosaurs and eventually they grow out of that. I guess I never grew up with my childhood obsession, or grew out of my childhood obsession. But anyway, yeah, and so I had this fascination with sharks. And I remember the first time that I saw, I was watching, it was some type of a documentary, and I was pretty young. I was probably 7 or 8. And I saw this, commercial long lining fishing vessel where they, it's just thousands and thousands of hooks that go out, and they catch they have targeted species that they're chasing. And this particular vessel was a shark finning fleet. And so I saw, the video showed a blue shark being hauled up on the deck. It's still alive, and they slice the fins off and then throw the body back overboard. And the shark basically bleeds to death or suffocates because it can't swim. And, as a kid, that was like horrific to see. And so, from then on, and then the more I researched and found out how awful this is, and it's unregulated, and it's just this massive wasteful practice. And so, I guess coming back to this particular painting, I think these are some of the most beautiful sharks. They're super sleek, and they have this brilliant blue color on their back. and they're one of the most heavily fished sharks. And now populations are in massive decline. It's just there's no real global regulation of how we manage our resources on the open sea. So I guess just trying to showcase the beauty of sharks and maybe change a little bit of the perception that every shark is like Jaws, this monster. I mean, they're not. So not showing big gaping teeth, and just focusing more on the gracefulness and beauty of these animals.
Interesting. So I've heard of shark finning and that kind of fishing for that. I actually have no idea what is the end product. I mean, obviously they're taking the shark fins, but what is it used for? Like, why is it so, I guess, in demand?
Yeah, it ends up in a soup. And it's a high dollar, it's kind of a status symbol. If you have shark fin soup, you have it you reserve it for like the best, right? Banquets and those types of things. But, the reality of it is it has no flavor. It adds a texture to the soup. And again, it's just such a wasteful practice. I mean, so yeah, that's the end product. And, I think there's some positive trends happening. You see a lot of people, like the awareness is getting out there a little bit more, but I still think there's so much of a story to tell. And I sometimes think we hear a lot more about, a shark bite than we do about, this massive slaughter of sharks that's going on every single day. I mean, they estimate 100 million are killed, and that's just what that's the estimate. That's not, it's an illegal trade too. There's black market trading of all of the fins, and who knows how many are actually not even counted. So.
Wow. Yeah. So obviously, your work helps, kind of highlight that almost that majestic beauty of sharks, when really, they seem to be a little more of a docile creature, kind of swimming around in the oceans. In fact, I think we actually have a video of you swimming with sharks, and we'll pull that up. So I'm curious, how did that experience come about, and what was that like?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to be down in the Bahamas, and that's like the perfect place to dive with sharks. I mean, the water clarity is incredible, and actually the Bahamas are a shark sanctuary, so it's actually illegal to capture sharks there. So you have this nice ecosystem that has sharks. And so yeah, I was able to dive with, these are Caribbean reef sharks, and there's some nurse sharks swimming around every once in a while on the bottom there. But they're just, honestly, they're like big puppy dogs. They really don't bother you. They are so interested in the bait that's coming down. They want a snack. So just having them they're literally inches from your face, gliding between you. It just completely changes your perspective. And I wish everyone could have that opportunity, because it totally changes how you see and perceive these animals. So.
So, I mean, being someone who loves sharks for as long as you have, was that something that you were nervous to go and do, or were you just you were just ready?
Kind of both. I mean, of course, there's a little bit of anxiety, right? I grew up watching Jaws. I mean, that was one of my favorite movies, right? And as much as I was honestly rooting for the shark in the movie, it was still, it's I got those images burned into my head. But no, I mean, so there's a little bit of nerves just getting in the water. But once I was in there, you calm down, you're with a group, and diving in general is it just takes you to another place. It's like a different world. It's quiet. There's no distractions. Your normal life fades away for a minute, and you're just present with this crazy other universe. But then you throw a larger animal like sharks in the mix, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's incredible. That's about all I can say.
So you mentioned earlier that you are a certified diver. Where did you get your certification?
I did that at Scuba Adventures QCA in Bettendorf, downtown Bettendorf there. Yeah, great place. They're super thorough with, making sure you know your stuff. So, and you want to do that because you don't want to be caught in a sticky situation underwater. So, it was great to do it there. And then, from there, it's like, diving. We did a dive in a quarry in Muscatine, I think. And, that was interesting because it's like we had about 3 foot of visibility and it kind of green water and whatnot. So going from that to the Bahamas was quite the contrast. I've often said I almost wish that Bahamas trip happened later in my diving career because now the bar was kind of set high.
No, that's a good point. So I'm actually I am a certified diver as well, and so mine was my first dive was in a quarry, so I can understand that that really short distance, and also I mean it's almost for my first time like going down once you lose sight of the surface was a little. Yeah, it was a moment because I realized that you're almost like you're weightless. Like you don't really know which. Like, you can't really feel that gravity of like which way is up and down. So
yeah, totally.
It's kind of a wild feeling, but definitely very cool. I've never done anything like the Bahamas, but that looks absolutely incredible. I mean, that water was it looks like you could just almost see for a mile. Like,
oh, it looked like that. I mean, when we were going out on the boat to do the dive and I looked down and I think it was about 60 feet where we were at with those sharks.
Wow.
But you could literally see, I mean, it looked like bathtub water. You could see straight down to the bottom and you could just see them like moving around that area. Yeah, pretty surreal. It almost looked fake, it's just strange.
Wow, what a fantastic experience. So I'd like to pull up another one of your images, a piece that you have titled called Hang Time, which I think is, almost like the iconic view that people think of when it comes to like sharks. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, well, as much as, of course, trying to display the other side of sharks, the peaceful side of them is definitely like my focus, but there is the other side where they're powerful, capable predators, and the awe, I guess, that they can evoke, especially the great white shark, obviously, just this huge animal, and seeing it, launch itself from the water trying to get a seal is like insane. I mean, I hope to see that someday in person because it's amazing on TV even. So, that this piece was more about just trying to capture that raw power of the great white shark. And, it just, I don't know, there's nothing like that. I don't think so. Yeah. And just, and trying to create a mood too, in this evening type scene, warmer glow, and just kind of make it as dramatic as I could possibly make it, was sort of the emphasis of it. But, painting the splash was pretty fun. Like go a little wild in there. My wife's like, I think you've got, I'm like, is it done? And she's like, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe a couple more dots here. It's like, okay.
So that's actually, that's a great segue. So I'm curious about sort of your process when it comes to these to your paintings. Do you start with a source image and then do you draw that out, or do you just kind of jump into just putting paint on a canvas?
Yeah, no, I definitely like try to sketch a composition and what I'm looking for. Usually in my head I just see things like, I've been watching these animals for so long that like I know like body movements and as they turn, what that proportionately looks like, and working on the way that the light and the water interact. I love painting near the surface type scenes if I'm underwater, and getting that kind of refracted light on the back of the animal just creates this like electric kind of feel. So I enjoy that. But yeah, I definitely start with some thumbnail sketches. And then from those sketches, I move to the canvas and kind of map it out on canvas, sketching it. And then I do an underpainting, usually a monochromatic underpainting, just to more of a value study, I guess. And then from there, that's when I start blocking in the base coat of color, trying to steer clear of the details, which is always the hardest part for me, because I absolutely love the end. Like I love, putting the final tiniest little details in there. So it's like this massive struggle for me in the middle of the painting, because I want to get to that end so bad, but I have to hold back, and finish that middle block in stage, and then I move to the detailed stage at the end.
Excellent. Wow. So so this is a piece called Pilot and Co-Pilots. It actually perfectly kind of lines up with the refraction on the water you were talking about,
Right.
and you can definitely see a lot of those that fine detail that you were just referencing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious. So a painting like that, or a painting like that, any of the ones that we've seen. So start to finish, how long is that taking you? Is this? Yeah, I'm just curious. Like how long does it take you to complete one of those?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to gauge because I don't, I do other things during the day too.
Yeah.
So it's never like, one long sitting, but in general, I would say, 2 months or so, just depending on the size. It's and then it's a lot of late nights, and, once you hit that point where you find the groove, you just want to work on it nonstop. It's so hard to stop once I find that sweet spot where I see it start to come together, and then I just want to take it all the way home. But I would say probably 2 to 3 months, and that's probably working on it, I don't know, 3 times a week in the evening, and a little bit on the weekends, and it's fun, man. I have to tell myself to go to bed sometimes, because I could go straight through the night easy after I get tired about 9:30. But if I get past that and I'm painting, then that's it. I can't. You got to wake up tomorrow.
So that's you mentioned size. So how large are a lot of your paintings? For obviously seeing it on the screen sort of takes away the just how big these things are.
Yeah, the biggest, since I've been focusing on marine life now, I've done a couple of 30-inch by 40-inch paintings. I've done some large, like I've done a 6-foot by 4-foot painting in the past. That's kind of on my radar again. I want to do something really big, but I haven't figured out what that thing is yet. But yeah, most of the larger ones are 30 by 40s, and then a lot of 24 by 36 kind of in there. But yeah, you're right. It's just so different seeing art at scale, in life, seeing the brush strokes on the canvas and how the light hits the painting. It's so different than seeing it on a small phone screen on Instagram.
Yeah, very, very true. So while you're painting, I'm curious. I've never actually asked an artist this. What are you doing? Obviously you're painting, but are you listening to music? Are you listening to a podcast? What are you doing?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I definitely listen to music. Always have music going. Sometimes I just love like atmospheric kind of music, just instrumental stuff, electronic music. Sometimes I'm all over the board. Obviously being a Springsteen fan, there's a lot of Bruce Springsteen in the mix. I like bands that, from my, youth, Incubus and, Red Hot Chili Peppers they're in the mix a lot. But I always listen to music. Yeah. And then podcasts too. I've been, listening to some podcasts recently, and so I'm all over, but yeah, definitely always have something going on in the ears.
Excellent. Yeah. I was just curious. I figured so, but some people like to just kind of be in that silence to get into their flow state. Yeah. And I'm not that person. I need something kind of going on. But yeah, I'd like to take a look at a couple more of your images, kind of a little bit different. A piece called Make a Break, which still focuses on sea life, but more of an above the water, and not so, I guess, shark centric. So
right, yeah. I do paint other things other than shark. Just hard for me. This one was actually a commissioned piece for a fellow diver, and we talked about doing something focused on the sea turtle hatchings that happen on the coast of Florida, and I really, really enjoyed painting this. I don't know why. I guess it just trying to capture the light. We talked, this is again, starting with the sketch. I sent them a thumbnail sketch, real small, and tried to explain what I was seeing in my head. And once we all agreed on that kind of concept, and then I took to the canvas. But they were, they knew they wanted a sea turtle hatching scene, which I thought would be a really fun challenge, trying to put that all together. And it was, but painting that wave and trying to, I kept seeing that light. I wanted to, capture that light coming through the wave, and give it that translucency. I thought would be really fun. And then having these baby turtles making a mad dash for it, gives it a little bit of energy.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, the way that you handle the waves and kind of that ocean spray off the top, is captured quite nicely in this image.
Thank you.
And then there's one more that I'd like to look at, and that one is called Flying Feast. And it's mostly this is of some of the images that you submitted is one of my favorites, and I'm not 100% sure why, but it's like, I think it's the colors, and it really just it just draws me in because you can see that it is in motion. But yeah, how did this piece come to be?
Yeah, this one, I wanted to do something that had a lot of color, and honestly, this sounds, I don't know if it sounds bad or what, but people like to eat mahi mahi, which is a really a great mild fish, and I've had it numerous times, and I know it's a very popular fish to fish for. So, but these fish can change like brilliant colors, and so I thought it'd be kind of fun just to capture that. And then I had actually watching another documentary. I'm making myself sound really exciting. All the documentaries that I watch, but I watched I think it was some BBC documentary, might have been Blue Planet or something like that. But anyway, it was these mahi mahi or dorado fish hunting flying fish, and it was this whole spectacle, and the way they filmed it was obviously incredible. And I was watching that, and I was like, dang, that would make a really cool painting. So I just went to the canvas and tried to start sketching something out. And this is the result. But they're beautiful. I mean, just amazing colors, and I thought that would make a pretty cool painting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you were correct. So Brian, I guess sort of my next question is, how did you find out about the Quad City Arts Call? Is Quad City Arts something you've always sort of known about growing up in the Quad Cities, or really, how did you get connected with us?
Yeah, well, I definitely knew about Quad City Arts growing up in the Quad Cities, but I think I got an email. It was either email or Facebook. I can't remember now. But one of the two, I saw the call for entries, and I thought, well, that would be interesting. And obviously, growing up in the Quad Cities, flying out of the Quad City Airport, I knew that beautiful gallery space that you guys have over there. I love that space. I think it's so awesome, and what a perfect way to showcase the Quad Cities art culture to people that are coming into town that aren't necessarily from the Quad Cities. I do think that the Quad Cities has an incredible, rich art culture that I think sometimes maybe people don't hear about enough. So perfect venue for that, I think, and the space itself is beautiful. So when I saw that opportunity, I definitely thought, and I've been building a body of work. I really wanted. I've been working very, very hard at trying to build a body of work that I'm proud of, and I thought, perfect timing. I saw it and submitted my work, and thankfully got selected. So, which I'm extremely appreciative of.
Well, Brian, honestly, you just rattled off my elevator pitch for for art at the airport. I mean, it is exactly for those reasons that we love that gallery as well, because it does showcase arts and culture here in the Quad Cities, and it is for a lot of people, it's the gateway to the community. It's their first interaction with the Quad Cities, and what a better way for these people entering our community to see, wow, really impressive art gallery in an airport, and just, packed with, impressive pieces of work like yours. So man, you've checked that list off for me. So nice work.
No worries. But I was just gonna say, even the variety of work too, like that's what I think is cool about it. It's not just, paintings like mine. I mean, there's beautiful tapestries over there right now, and woven baskets, and it's just so many things that I've seen over the years that make it in there, that it's really cool.
Yeah, it is one of the things that I love getting to talk about Quad City Arts for, especially for people who aren't either or who aren't in the Quad Cities but have flown out of that airport. As soon as I start talking about Quad City Arts and I mention the airport gallery, they go, "Oh, you do that." So like
Yeah.
that's their, because it is a well curated space. Obviously, I speak with some bias, but
No, it is. It really is. It's great. I love it.
Excellent. Well, so Brian, my sort of my new favorite question to ask everybody that comes on here is advice. So, what have you learned going down this path that you would like to share, or that you wish somebody would have told you when you were younger?
Yeah, I think when I think back, I remember I did this 3 week. It was a summer program up at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, and when I was in high school, and I chose to focus on painting. You could pick different disciplines, but I remember when I first got there, and they had all of the students gathered in this big atrium, and I remember the speaker there talking about how if you're going to be an artist, a true professional practicing artist, you have to live and breathe it. It has to be something that you wake up in the morning and you want to do it and do it. And when you go to bed at night, you can't go to bed because you just want to keep doing it. And I thought at the time, my younger self, I didn't quite understand what that meant. And, after having some years under my belt, working, even in the advertising industry and doing graphic design, and understanding the level of commitment that it takes to truly do work that you're proud of. I got a taste of that, on that side of things. And now I understand it as an artist on the fine art side of things. It's something that I can't turn off now. I just want to do it all the time. And even when I want to go watch TV, we talked about what I'm streaming right now. I rarely watch TV because I just want to paint. I just want to create. And I think, having that drive and understanding that that's what it takes to do work that you're proud of and have a go at it, I think is something that if I could rewind the clock and understand that a little bit earlier, that would have been great, but you can't do that now, and that's fine. But just understanding that, and if you love it, it's not work, and that's how it always feels to me. It's never, this isn't work to me. I love doing this, and so I think that just being a good listener, I was so fortunate along the way to have incredible art teachers, and I've said this 1,000 times, but I look back, I try to thank them as every opportunity that I get, because you don't get anywhere being, stubborn and thinking your way or the highway. I've always tried to listen to those that have gone before me, and can share some of their wins and losses and what worked for them and what didn't. And I think, being a good listener and being dedicated to your craft are the two things that, I think help you in the long run.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. So you talked about kind of that, that you have to want to do it when you wake up, want to do it before you go to bed, or you not be able to sleep because you're so excited about it. For somebody who is, sort of like at the beginning of their journey, is there something that you think that they could do to kind of flip that? Because you mentioned that you got that success on the graphic design side, and then on the fine art side, like, is there an example of what did that for you?
Man, it's just, again, having, I guess, I don't know why the light bulb just went off when it did for me. And, I don't know if there was necessarily one thing that triggered it per se. But, for someone younger, I think, again, it's just having the courage to reach out to those that are doing what you want to do one day, and talking to them and listening. I think, that's kind of the thing. There's so much noise in the world now, and, everybody's putting stuff out there, and it's just like, it's just so much. Like, take the time to sit down and ask for help, ask someone to talk to you about their own journey, because there's always things you can learn from them. So, I don't know. I think that's kind of the thing I guess I would recommend to a young person. And what I'm going to talk to my kids about too is making sure that you really do reach out to those that have gone before you and get that advice, because it's invaluable.
Excellent. So yeah, I mean, kind of to distill that down, it's basically listen and commit and
Hmm.
keep creating.
Absolutely.
Excellent. That is fantastic advice. Uh, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I feel like I could talk to you for at least another hour, but I want to let you get back to your
Likewise.
evening. Is there before we go, is there anything that you would like to share or anything you'd like to touch on before we say goodbye?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you to Quad City Arts. I mean, what you guys are doing in the community, I think, is just incredible. And your reach, from young kids to professional artists. There's opportunities for everybody. Looking behind you right now and seeing that artwork on the wall from the high school students. I remember when I was in that seat. And here we are still talking today. So I think just what you guys do is amazing, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be sitting here with you, to have my work in the airport gallery. Can't say enough of just thank you for what you're doing for the arts in the Quad Cities.
Well, Brian, we appreciate that, but honestly, we could not do this without artists like you. So we appreciate everything that you're doing to create and kind of beautify the world and our community, and be able to showcase, artists like you is honestly, I mean, it's a pleasure. You talked about that passion and that if it doesn't feel like work, that's how it is for us. Like we love being able to kind of build up our community. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Actually, before you go, I want to put one more thing on the screen, and that is how our audience can keep in touch with you. So they can go to brianbucklesartwork.com. They can find you on Instagram as well as Facebook. But if I remember correctly, if they really want to interact with you, Instagram is the way to go.
For sure.
Excellent. Brian, pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for carving out some time for us this evening.
No, thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. Again, thanks for Brian for joining us. Brian also touched on something really great, and that is the artwork behind us. And that is our annual high school art invitational. And it is going on now also through the end of the month. And we will be open late in 2 weeks on April 29th, staying open a little bit later for everybody to come down and take a look at this great artwork. We are open Monday through Saturday as well. So please come out, take a look. The artwork on the wall is not just, is not the only thing that happens with the High School Art Invitational. We also awarded over $6,000 in scholarships and prize dollars. So you can check out our website, quadcityarts.com, and you can see where all of those, who all won those awards and those scholarships. Or if you want to be surprised, in 2 weeks from tonight, we will be talking with one of those scholarship winners right here on 7 with Kevin, and talking about the High School Art Invitational, right before it closes here in the gallery. So that is August 28th. You'll get to meet one of those scholarship winners. Also, I will show one more piece of Brian's work, and that is a logo that he created for QC Live. QC Live is on KWQC on Fridays, helps showcase our local arts, visual arts community, as well as our general arts community here in the Quad Cities. This is a logo that Brian created. If you want to create a logo to be featured on QC Live, go to our website and check out the artist opportunities, and you can submit a logo that could eventually be featured on that show. And what a cool opportunity to showcase your work. And that is open to all ages. So anybody who is in high school or younger that wants to create something, go ahead, create it, photograph it, however it needs to go, put it up on or attach to our website through the little entry form, and we'll get that submitted for you. We also have some great things coming up. Our Metro Arts program will start in June, but applications for that are open for a couple more days, so check out our website. That's a lot of things to remember, and there's also more coming up that I haven't told you about, so check out our website. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Twitter and YouTube. And you can visit our website, quadcityarts.com, to stay in touch with us. So please stay in touch. And thank you again so much for watching, and thank you for Brian for joining us this evening.